you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hero of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
Good evening and welcome to an I-Had moment, the calm before the storm. I'm your host, Minister Idris Taha, and with me I have my partners and family, Brother Fat Killer Abdul Aziz, Lord Holy-Apostle Deen Saleem, and Holy Queen Mother Rabbi Saleem. May I ease his peace and other blessings be about everyone's presence.
May I ease his peace and the blessings be about your presence as well, bro.
Those who view this program, may the Lord's peace and other blessings be about your presence as well, and those in our audience. It's always a pleasure, man. Being on the set with the Holy Apostle and Holy Queen, my brother Fat Kid, because he's always give us joyous spirits and thinking about some things. One thing we're going to discuss this evening on this program is concerning Ahezaah sent a chapter down in the precursor to Divine Book of Recitation entitled A Letter to the Afro-American Muslims. And one of the things Ahezaah is trying to get our people to understand is that we've been for over 400 years, going to 500 years now, in the mindset of being enslaved. Even though Ahezaah have sent this religion down to Prophet Muhammad, those who descend the Arabs who think that the religion is theirs now and think they have the new slaves in this country over here, United States of America, our people don't want to realize, you can recognize us by the outside of the shops of many Muslims, Arab spots, we outside peddling in front of them, vending in front of them, not only in the businesses ourselves, like in the time when he's sent Elijah here, but we're going to discuss this and some other things, you know, Holy Apostle, Holy Queen, my brother.
Brother, may I ease his peace and other blessings again be within and about your presence.
May I ease his peace about your presence.
Looking at with the, I apologize to everybody, though. Inside off the set jokes we have, you know, the relaxers before the show. But thank Ahezaah much for being in your company. Thank Ahezaah much for being in the company of coming into what is the reality of Islam. You know, the reality of Ahezaah's message of what is now the universal religion of truth, what is called that. The spirit of Ahezaah, the spirit of Ahezaah Allah in its reality, the spirit that it is that it applies in all settings, particularly in every setting, in the settings of all people, of all animals, of all everything, but in particular in all people for what we're talking about today. And it occurred to me when reading that chapter of the Divine Book of Recitation about the Afro-American Muslims, the experience of the Afro-American come into the experience of Islam, you know, and how pretty much the things that's been given to them, such as the coming of Elijah, the advent of Noble Drew Ali, you know, previous time, you know, how our people nevertheless have fallen into the same pattern as had been before when they came into Christianity or in other walks of life and embracing other types of lifestyles, whether you call it good or bad, you know, and wholeheartedly taking on something that's told to them in an imaginative manner, a fanciful manner, you know. Our people have a tendency to fall behind, you know, go behind things which are what you call exotic, exciting, something that's different. You know, I don't know whether we're just running from the legacy, our history of the harsh history of being ex-slaves in America for the most part, just to trying to find anything other than yourselves, anything
We're
other
more
than your
inclined
experience.
to fiction.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah, anything, as long as that fiction is gonna make us escape.
Gonna stimulate you and make
Yeah.
you feel like you're achieving something and that's really not being achieved.
Right.
I think maybe a lot of that has to do with slavery. Maybe during when our forefathers were slaves, maybe they took their mind into other areas to try to escape, you know, but I sound awfully loud on my mic. But what I think that we have taken that pattern to another level, and we don't take hold of what Ahezaah sends down and try to figure it out. It's one of the things I find that Muslims do. They read the Holy Quran and they relate it to someone else. They never related to, as Ahezaah is speaking directly to them. And that they feel comfortable with themselves. You know, I know a lot of people, they say in the Holy Quran, Allah said this, that, and the other, the kafirs this and the kafirs that, not realizing if Allah calls you to open the book, why would Allah need you to open the book to point to somebody else? Allah is causing you to open the book so that it could show you yourself, you know, and I think that people try to relate things as, you know, how young people say, that was back in the day, so they don't have to be accountable for their acts of today. You understand what I'm saying? But I always wondered, once Allah gave me the awareness of chapter, we call it chapter 1, most Muslims would say chapter 2, when Allah said that if you didn't uphold, if that Muhammad people didn't uphold the covenant, that it would replace them with a new people. And I wonder how many people really sat and pondered that. See, people read this, keep going. You know what I'm saying? And just want to remember. But I wonder how many of African American people ever stopped and wondered, well, why would Allah say that about Prophet Muhammad people? Why would Allah put that there? And then why would Allah allow the Quran to fall into our laps in this day and time?
Let me just add this here. First of all, there's a number of problems involved with, you know, like what you're talking about. Firstly, everything stipulated from slavery. Yes, our people got into this fantasy thing, you know, where they're more inclined to fiction than they are nonfiction. They're more inclined to illusions than they are to real. But that wasn't something that was put on them so much so by themselves. What was put on them is that if they dealt with the real, they would be punished. Okay, if they read books and came up with true understanding, they would be physically punished. You understand? If they was doing anything to enhance their mind and dealing with not being slaves, they were punished. So with that happening for hundreds of years, then the other thing is to have your language, your religion, more so the meaning of your life, the meaning of your language, the meaning of your religion taken away from you. Because you got to remember, a lot of them children, African American children, was born and raised without what the Africans who were enslaved had. They were raised completely different. They didn't even have to brainwash them. You understand? They assimilated them. They assimilated them from their parents and then raised them, and we got a whole group of African American people who are all disunited. Now, Ahezaah gave me something the other day that's relative to what we're talking about. We call them the African American Muslims. That's what you read about.
Precursor,
But now, Ahezaah said that we are the strangest, the African Americans are the strangest race of people in the civilized world on the face of the planet Earth. We are the most unfortunate group of people among the most fortunate group of people in the world. We are the poorest in mind and finance amongst the richest in mind and finance of all the people in the world. You understand? Even though their mental riches is always geared towards evil, they have it. You understand? And we have been robbed, and we're continuously being kept away from mental, spiritual, soulful enhancement. You understand? As a people, and that's being done to us purposefully to keep us down, you know? And so what happens with the Muslims, African-American Muslims, they come from this Christian background. And if you listen to them, you could, you hear the trick of, the Paul and the Romans and whomever who devised that religion to keep the people enslaved, because it started not with us, it started with the Hebrews. It started with those dissenting Jews who wanted to keep power and ignore the laws that Allah gave to Moses and what it gave to Jesus. And then them Romans who conquered them, who told them basically, if you step out of our line, you know, we're gonna assassinate you. And then they went about their way assassinating all the Essenes. See, people think they assassinated Jesus' followers. They didn't assassinate Jesus' followers.
Right.
Those Essenes, Jesus only had 12 disciples.
Right.
He only had 12 followers. John had a larger group, but at the same time, his people, the Essenes who sent him, both of them to Egypt to learn, they were already believers. And they had people who was enlightened among them.
Right.
They didn't need Jesus to talk to them. That's why you don't have no history of Jesus and John going to the Essenes, talking to them. They sent them out. They came out as their children to talk to the lost children, to the lost people.
Right.
You see, so when the Romans came in, they came in to assassinate them. The Jews, they was separate. The people, Pontius Pilate and whomever, you know, the politicians, they were separate from the true believers.
Right.
And they wanted them annihilated. So in their minds, the Romans was doing them a favor.
Right.
And so they supported Paul just like people who supported Elijah's son Woreth.
Right.
In his foolishness, they supported Paul, and this thing didn't last for thousands of years.
Yeah.
You know, how long will Woreth Deen Muhammad's stuff last, where they turn people away from spirituality to finances, materiality?
Right.
You understand? And say that this is the way. You don't have to be concerned about your spiritual dress, your spiritual mentality, because you're not in Mecca, you over here. You know, put on business suits or whatever and throw that down and get with the program.
Right.
Put down all religious symbols, forget them religious symbols, pick up the American flag and use that as your symbol.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
And walk with me into the Pentagon where the devil makes wars and plans of wars, how to destroy all the people in the world, and let us pray. How long is that going to last? For thousands of years, 2,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years? Yeah. You understand? I mean, it's some serious stuff, because you got people who believed in him that is teaching their children, and if they ain't teaching their children, you got to remember, it's in their minds, in their genes, and when they make babies, this thought pattern comes out in them children. Now, the beast, the demon beast among mankind that's hid in the flesh of man, they are more aware of what's going on for real today. They are more aware of who was supposed to be returned and not Jesus. They're more aware of the book of Revelation and what it was talking about. Even though they try to act like they don't know, they throw up all this confusion to keep the people confused. You understand? And they are aware of what these Muslims, Afro-American Muslims, with this Christian mentality that they haven't gotten rid of.
Yeah.
And by us being so disunited as a people, we have a culture where imprisonment is part of our culture. Backstabbing each other is part of our culture. You understand? Fighting and fending for the Caucasians' businesses and their lifestyle is part of our culture. And taking that and being ourselves enslaved by them. That's part of our culture. This is part of our belief system. This is part of our support system for one another, as to where we take ourselves out of the box and we love being enslaved. We'll go home from our jobs and we'll complain about our supervisors, but let somebody put another, one of your own races of supervisors up there, and you be much more angry. People be much more angrier. Why? Because it's in their genes to be slaved, and they don't fight it.
Yeah.
It's part of their mentality, their happening. You understand? They've been nurtured to ignore their soul. That's why the enemy of man could go so far as make us think that our soul is dancing, vibing, and emotions and food. All the lower desires is of our soul, when now the highest of the high desires is of our soul. And we're so far away from it, lost from the recognition of it, that we give it no thought.
And you know, another thing we do. We always block truth. I'm just reflecting on when I can't think of the guy's name, but when he said that football players, African American football players, what was his name?
Jimmy the Greek.
Jimmy the Greek.
He
He
was
told the
saying
truth.
how we was bred
Right.
Yeah.
and what have you. Now, a lot of people will say that we're linking things back to slavery, but slavery don't have anything to do with it. Well,
Yeah,
how can a
everything to do with
child,
it.
if that's not true about the mentality of an African American person not being attached to slavery, then how is it that we can have children never exercise a day in our lives? Because you know, African American people is just getting on this bandwagon about walking and exercise, but they could give birth to the healthiest children,
Yeah.
children that are super strong, super athletic. I mean, they don't even have to be athletic. And
Right.
if you take a couple of African American children, they can move almost a building. You go look around at projects that have been built and torn down and see how African American children was tearing down
The
bricks.
buildings,
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So
That's
if
true.
that didn't have nothing to do with slavery by our ancestors working hard and everything, then where it come from?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and the thing about the slavery, they want us to forget it, especially our people.
People, yeah.
And nigga is
Right.
one of my favorite words. And when I say favorite, see, you can favor something and don't realize it. What do you say easier and faster than you say nigga?
Not many things. Yeah.
Not many
Yeah,
things. Not
yeah,
us
many
in the
things,
ghetto.
yeah.
Who hate the word nigga the most amongst the Afro Americans? The
bourgeois.
real
The
niggas.
bourgeois.
The real niggas, the bourgeois,
The bourgeois.
the bourgeoisies, huh? They hate that word more than us. It's just like the Caucasian. Who hate the truth about what the Caucasians did to us more than more than the Caucasians? Nobody. The Caucasian Americans, the Semitic Aryan Jews, and the Muslims, Arab Muslims that hide the fact that they was involved with the slave trade.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
But nobody hate that truth more than them Caucasians and them Aryan Jews, man, when you start talking about what they did to us in slavery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
bougies.
You talk about that
The
exposure. because-
bougies come second to them.
I know.
They
Yeah.
hate it with a passion. Why? Because they
don't
are the
wanna be
guilty.
reminded.
Just like the bougies hate that word nigga, because they are the guilty.
Oh yeah.
They the ones take up with him. But we know in the ghetto the word nigga just means a rowdy person.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's just, oh, that nigga, man, look at that nigga. He rowdy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It ain't got nothing to do
ain't got
with
that
Jim
meaning
Crow
anymore.
hanging
Yeah,
us or
yeah.
whatever. You know, where Sharpton and them try to take it. Sharpton with all this gunk in his head, trying to look like a white man, talking about he honoring James Brown, who was trying to be like a white
At
man.
the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Those the niggas.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Sharpton, but you know, no, I ain't sorry, but you know, I'm in between. I'm sorry and I ain't sorry.
You know.
You know what I'm saying? But you need to get off of that. If you're gonna be a leader of our people,
never get
you
off.
need to get with some quality issues. You need to get away from that nigga because you're a nigga. You need to get away from it. You know, you
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? And stop trying to get us to forget about what happened to us in slavery.
Yeah.
Nigga makes us remember.
Yeah.
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 When somebody say, what's a nigga, where it came from, we remember. They want us to forget and calm down and turn that other cheek, you know? And I
Yeah.
went to the Reverend's church, and it ain't about Jesus unless Jesus is spelled M-O-N-E-Y,
That's right.
you know?
M-O-N-E-Y was spelled mammon back in the day of Jesus, right?
Hey,
that was
man,
spelled mammon.
you know, I'm telling you, man, because, you know, like you talking about fighting these issues, these public issues for people, which he put his congregation around.
Right.
How you going to fight issues about what's going on in the public when you exclude the Lord L?
That's right.
The Lord L should be the first thing that's up in your banner, the first thing that's up in your shield and your sword in fighting public injustice,
Justice, right.
racial injustice. You feel where I'm coming
Definitely.
from?
He don't call anyone back to the book of the Lord. That's what you said.
Oh, no.
He keep people down into the political arena, and that arena alone, that we can have our so-called
Where
rise.
all our other reverends is trying to lead
Lead
our
to the-
people
right.
because we are the strangest, most disunited people in the world. What we have in common as a people is that we all will backstab one
Each other,
another.
yeah.
We
So
all will
quickly.
hate one another more than we hate anybody else. We all will destroy one another. They used to talk about, that's a house nigga there. Everybody house niggas now, for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, who did that to us? Who turned us all into house
They
niggas?
say when the freedom
Caucasians.
fighters went to the Capitol to fight for freedom, they came back docile because they had jobs.
They didn't
Gave
even
them
come
jobs.
back. They said, what happened to them? They
got
moved to
guns.
Washington. They got jobs.
Yeah.
I ain't seen them in a while.
Neither.
Where they
They
at?
the CBC now.
And they made these political moves and
Yeah.
include our people like the Million Man March and things like that. What are they showing our young people? That we still have to beg?
Still
Go to the House.
You know,
Go to
that's
the
what
White
I'm
House.
talking about. If you put political, civil laws, the Constitution of the United States of America and the Bill of Rights, if you put that over the divine laws, then what are you doing? You know, who are you and what are you calling us to? Because it's no three choices. It's either the Lord or other than the Lord. And the Lord says, I'll forgive you for everything except setting up
Equal.
an equal
Right.
to me, something other than me. So anything else you calling us to as a people is other. And the greatest thing that we have had in our life that caused us to survive, you can mention Harriet Tubman and Nat Turner and all these other people, but it wasn't that, it was the Lord El.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the Lord itself that caused us to survive. It gave us the strength, gave us the wherewithal, gave us the way to come back to some knowledge. Like, in other words, they put us in the fields and made us till the land and do all these things. We didn't just throw that information away. We kept that information.
We sung it in songs.
And we utilized
Made
that
it songs
information.
as a freedom song to get away, pray to the Lord, go down Moses and all that was a part of those prayers that Ahezaah have fulfilled today by sending you here. And our people always the first ones are going to go against anything Allah called to stand for.
Oh, yeah.
Because they got to turn to their master and say, well, should we believe in him? Should we look to him?
There you
should
go.
we acknowledge him?
There you
Or
go.
address him?
There you
know?
go.
And our people wait for that man to shake their hands. Okay, go. You got the
Go-
patty
you
boy,
can
good old
go.
boy. Go ahead and
Go
now go
ahead
to
and-
him.
You can go ahead and you can serve your Lord. But you know, let's look at our Kenyan African American, Caucasian American president. One who trying to pretend that he's one of us.
Yeah.
You know, what was the first thing he did when his boys said, hey man, your reverend, he ain't right.
Disassociate
He
himself.
coming against us,
Right.
man. Hey,
Disassociate
I
from
disassociate
Reverend Wright.
myself.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that his reverend was truly of the Lord El, but he supposedly represented it. He's going out like he's representing it.
Right.
Right.
And his
So what he
reverend-
did, he made a choice. Okay,
It was a
I'm
clear
with
choice, yeah.
this.
And
Yeah.
his reverend never
Yeah.
changed his spot.
No.
Right.
It was when he decided to get all into this political
Right.
running for president, did he change his spot? His reverend still was the same reverend that he was
Sitting under for 20 years, right.
That's
Yeah.
quite a statement for the African American people who are supposed to be a religious people. They taken on the religion with a lot of fever, and for the president to just cut off ties
You
just
mean
like
fervor?
that.
Fervor,
yeah,
yeah, I
fever.
thought-
Did I say fervor?
You said
Yeah,
fever,
fervor.
yeah.
Okay.
And you know, you would think they would have been alarmed how Obama just
But
with
that
matter of
shows
fact
you
just
the
cut it
state
off.
of
You know,
mind
just said,
of
"Get
the
that."
African American people. Huh? They see, when they want to get us, they know how to get us.
Even if they just question.
They
it.
get us with the songs,
Yeah.
the music. They know that what we brought up from our people from way back when, our ancestors, them religious songs, that
That's
it
it.
ain't the words so much as it is the melody, the rhythm, the tones
spirit,
that
yeah.
we hit.
Yeah.
Huh? They bring that up and show this the civil rights movements, and the enemies of man have made the civil rights movements religious.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Because the devil don't care who you call, as long as you don't call El.
That's it.
You could call your mama. It don't matter. That's why it set up Jesus. They set up Jesus to be called upon.
Yeah.
And then the Christian-minded Muslims set up Muhammad to be called upon. And they didn't fall so far. They calling on the companions and the scholars.
Right.
You know,
Right.
people that's so disassociated from spirituality,
Yeah.
You know, that you can never find your way to the opening, to Al-Fatiha.
Right.
You understand? In the Lord's path of the way. Never.
Lord, you said for the people that they got to call sincerely. If they're sincere about looking for deliverance, to be free, they got to call on Ahezaah with the sincerity of their hearts.
Yes.
They got to, within the reality of themselves, to make up of Ahezaah that reality that is here, that is live, that is something that you can best relate to more than anything else. You know when you're heartbroken, you know when you're fearful, you know when you're feeling courageous, you know these things. That's the best thing that you know, if you know of anything.
See, the Christians got a lot of things right. In Christianity, the brothers and sisters, they got a lot of things right, but they got them right in their words.
Right.
And then they have a little poison sprinkled all over as seasoning for the food of wisdom.
Yeah.
And it's that poison that kills all that they got right.
Yeah.
They talk about having a true relationship
Right.
Okay.
With
yes.
Jesus.
but with Jesus.
Right.
Where Jesus said had a relationship with the Lord El.
Right.
And he said Allah.
That's right.
In his words, Allah, who is the Christ.
Right.
That had that relationship. So they got some of it right sprinkled with that poison which kills everything. You understand? And and we've gone on for hundreds of years in slavery, being brutalized and what have you. Can't even understand. If you calling on the Lord for this brutality to the end and you never being heard, and you go through generation after generation after generation, and we still in the same spot. We just raised up. I heard a brother say, yeah, we moving on up. If you consider how the roaches in the suburbs live better than the roaches in the ghetto, and we done moved on up. You know, and I mean, that's a good analysis for where we are.
Yeah.
You know, in order for the jinn to take over the world, which they're trying to do, they have to raise the ante for everybody.
So part of that raising up the ante is raising up their ex-slaves.
But what insult they had to go and get a Kenyan, African, Caucasian American to represent us.
I guess something make it easier for the African-American people to worship. I had a gentleman recently said that Obama was, how he used the term, God's man. That was in his conversation, God's man. Yeah, I said, listen,
Wouldn't you say
settle
that?
down.
Wouldn't you say that if you hear all the ministers talking about praise the Lord to the Most High for this man and the Muslim so-called greatest leader, Deen Muhammad, talking about thank Allah for, when you say Allah's name or the Lord El's name or Yahuwah's name or Brahman's name, when you start talking about the Most High, your words is going very high into the spirit realm.
Who of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you